Welcome, everybody, to the 2024 Netrunner World Championship main event, day one. I'm Eric Hayden from Neon Static, he, him.
I'm Junipertheory, or just Juniper, she, her.
And I am super excited. I cannot believe that this is happening.
Yeah, it's been really fun so far. This is my first Worlds, and I'm having an amazing time.
Mine
I'm
too.
so excited to see what happens. Really?
Yeah, I've
That's
never
awesome.
been to a Worlds before. I've watched them before. Honored to be here on comms. There are 203 players registered for the event outside, waiting to get started. Everybody's got their deck lists all submitted online, I hope. And there's some harsh cutoffs at a certain point. That might be actually coming up in like a minute or two, so it's possible it's not the final count.
We'll be going live to the announcements at the beginning of the stream in just a second. In the meantime, though, anything specific you're looking forward to today?
I can't wait to see something in particular that I've been looking forward to, and then I noticed the last year, is that there's a pretty good lull in what happens as far as new decks coming out in the maybe 3 months leading up to Worlds, because a lot of the testing groups that are very serious about winning the event are brewing some really cool and creative things, threats to bring to this event. And I cannot wait to see the stuff that I have never seen before on stream. So decks that just we never saw coming. I got a chance to see a little bit of the stream today or yesterday while I played in the Round of Servers event. And even the first game, there was Earth Station being played by Santa, and you don't see Earth Station very often, or I don't anyway, at least in my local meta. So that was a lot of fun to see. So things like that. What about you?
I'm really excited to see just the general breakdown of what people are playing. Like, there's so much. Once all the decks are in and we can look at all the info and stuff, start to see like how many people are in Shaper, how many people are in Criminal, what people are looking like for Anarch. I've seen a few people, like I know that Lat's one of the big decks right now, but I'm really curious, what are people going to be playing? Is it going to be mostly that? Is there some big brute, like you said, that we haven't seen yet that's going to come out yet? So curious to see what the general breakdown of everything is.
Yeah, I heard about a couple of very creative decks yesterday that like the decks that won Crown of Servers. I don't know if they're playing them right now, so I don't want to spoil the secret tech. Hopefully we'll see it on screen. I think we have a few minutes. We are going to cut to the announcements, so everybody should be able to see and hear the announcements. Before the stream properly gets started, I want to give a shout out to the folks behind the scenes, Warren Mikado, who have like carried the setup of this stream. Hopefully the viewers of this will recognize like how much effort has gone into this stream. It is really incredible.
If you see this and you think it looks nice or fancy or anything like that, Warren Mikado has done an amazing job setting everything up. Yeah.
So much thanks to the folks behind the scenes, behind the cameras, not in front of the cameras. So, yeah. Did you get to play yesterday?
I did get to play yesterday. Yeah, I ended up playing. My group all tried to play Moonpool in our decks.
What was your team name?
An unclear number of frogs and girls. We came 18th, which was mostly due to the fact that I got no sleep the other night because I was helping set up. Yeah, it's above the middle. I got the prizes, but there were like 2 or 3 games that I was just way too tired to play correctly.
Yeah, 2 or 3 hours of sleep, you said?
I got 4, I think.
Yeah.
I was here with Katma till like 2 a.m. helping set up the stream and getting everything set up.
Yeah.
So
our team came in 40th. We were Bugalter did nothing wrong, which we mostly used the team name to incite feelings. I got a call out from Jeff that I beg to disagree.
Viewers, Bugalter did do many things wrong.
Just buy like a credit. It's fine. It's fine. Crim deserves something nice.
Reprint Bugalter with 1 fewer credit and reprint Boat with 1 fewer power counter and reprint every card.
Yeah. I don't know. Some of those are fun, but yeah, that's fine that it got banned. Yeah, we don't know exactly how long it's going to take to get the announcements cut over because the people, I think, imagine are still streaming in. We don't really know back here in our stream room, but yeah, I don't know. What are we going to vamp about?
Do you have the did the info you were saying where you found out how many people were registered, did it have any info about like what decks people are playing or what factions or anything?
Not that I could see just yet. I just briefly looked at the Cobra listing, which folks, I'm not sure if we'll have the link in the description, but the Null Signal Tournament's Cobra page has the event if you want to follow along today with the standings as the rounds go on. We have 11 rounds of single-sided Swiss today, and then tomorrow, I believe we have 3 follow-on rounds to make it 14 total.
No, yeah. Today, for the format, today is going to be 11 rounds total. Then tomorrow morning, there will be 3 rounds. Those 3 rounds, a lot of people will know that they haven't made the top cut.
Right.
They're doing 3 rounds tomorrow so that people can potentially know, okay, I'm not in competition for the top cut, so I don't have to go in and play 3 rounds before the event. But also, it gives them a chance to do more Swiss rounds for more people. It's going to be single-sided Swiss, so 1 game per team, just not going back and forth. You're just playing runner, you're just playing corp, and then you move on to the next game, which is personally, I mean, it's a much better format, especially for people playing much longer decks, because double-sided Swiss has always had the problem of if you're playing one really long, miserable prison deck, and you finish that game, and then you have 5 minutes for your next game, it's really rough. But so we're going to be doing that. Then tomorrow there's going to be a top cut to 16, and we'll be streaming as many games for that as possible.
Okay, we have announcements going over, so I think we're going to cut to that.
Intentional projects for the material and financial gain of colonialist nations. Many Ramaytush Ohlone people are still in the peninsula today, fighting for land rematriation and community restoration. Though we have not gathered today for political action, it is important to remember the conditions that we gather under. There is no atonement or thanks appropriate for this situation, but we acknowledge this land belongs to the Ramaytush Ohlone tribe, and ask you keep in mind how you can work to oppose settler colonialism now and moving forward. Thank you, everyone, for your attention. So today is the standard main event. I'm going to get into logistics, and there's a lot of logistics, so apologies. I'm going to need you guys to basically pay attention to just about all of the logistics. But before that, I want to give some venue logistics. So bathrooms are out the door to the right. They are marked as gender neutral. There is a sign right by the entrance that will hint at you which one has urinals, if that is of interest to you. Additionally, there is a low sensory room over there. We do not have that door open, but you are free to just open and go in at any time. The lights are dimmed, and we ask that people not have conversations in there unless absolutely needed. And then there's a staff room over there. Please don't go in there. Thank you very much. And there's a stream room back there. Also, please don't go in there unless you're specifically asked by someone on the stream team to go in there. Okay, before we get to the further event logistics, I want to give a couple of quick shout-outs. So first, I want to thank Nick, James, and John, without whom this event would not be possible. Can you guys raise your hands and get a round of applause? And I want to also make sure that we give thanks to the over 30 volunteers that are working in all sorts of capacities today to make this event possible. I also, while I don't see any hotel staff here, I do want to make sure we thank, and as you see them around today, to thank the hotel staff. They have been incredibly accommodating to us, so please keep them in mind and in thanks as well. Okay, do you have a thing for me? Okay, next up, I want to talk about everyone. We have a responsibility to be good to each other today. We are all human beings here. We are all trying to both do our best as a card game, but I also want us to make sure that we are understanding that there is another human being at the other end of every single interaction today. An important part of that is also respecting people's pronouns. You should not assume people's pronouns. Pronouns are on everyone's badge, and they will also be on Cobra. It is your responsibility and expectation to get these correct, both when you are talking to the person and when you are talking about that person, which is a common area that I've seen people, including myself, mess up with in the past. Okay. On to logistics for this event. I believe when I last refreshed, we have 203 registered players, but let me double check. That might have been a moment ago. Hold on. I should have done this before I walked up here. All right, we have, oh, wonderful. It looks like we have, 204. Even better. Even numbers, much better. All right, we have 204 players today. We are going to be doing tables 1 to a little bit under 100 because we have a couple of fixed seating tables that will be in the 300s. If you are paired to a 300 number table, those are immediately over here to the right of, well, yeah, towards the door that you came in on. I was going to say right and left, and it's terrible, and I'm not a stage person. So anyway, that's where these are. This event is a single-sided Swiss event. This means each round you will be each round you will be paired against another person, and you will play one match. Which side you are playing, court versus runner, is indicated on Cobra. It is essential that you play that match and not the other one. It really messes everything up if you play the wrong match. I don't want to have to be giving game losses because you played the wrong match. Every round is 40 minutes long, and we are looking to try and hit 10 minutes between rounds so that you guys all get to go home at a sane hour tonight. This is because this is a 14 rounds total for this event, but 11 rounds of that are today. That is a lot of Netrunner, and it's going to be a lot of moving around. To make this possible, as soon as your match is done, before you clean up any of your stuff, one of the two of you should fill out the match slip and bring it up front. This is the HQ over here. Thank you to the HQ folks. They are going to be doing so much today. What you're going to do is hand your slip. Oh, I actually should have talked with you guys about. I think for this, at least for the first round, you'll hand your slip to someone. They will verify that all the information is needed. They will tell you you're good to go, and then you can walk off and clean up your stuff. Please, please, please bring your match slip up before you clean up so that we can keep moving smoothly throughout the rounds today. For those of you, I mentioned we had 40 minutes on the round. When the round ends, if the game is not decided, the player who is currently playing finishes their turn, and the other player gets to take one more turn. If neither player has won in that intervening time, then whoever's ahead of on agenda points is the winner. If neither player has, if players are still tied after that, the match is a tie. If you have any questions about this, do not hesitate to call a judge. Okay, that actually segues into talking about judges. Judges you will see around the room in yellow shirts. We have a bunch of them today. Thank you so much, everyone. Judges are here to make everyone's lives a little bit easier and to ensure fairness across the room. If you have questions about anything related to a board state, you should call a judge. If you have questions about if you're allowed to do something, call a judge. If you have questions about what the text on the card is because you're not sure for any reason, call a judge. You can ask for a card and just be like, hey, I don't remember the name, like, what this card's res cost is. Judge, can you show me the card? They're here for that as well. Judges can also help and remind you where the bathroom is, where the low sensory room is, where water stations might be. They're also there if you need time extensions because, say, you urgently need to use the restroom, call a judge, or find a judge on your way sprinting to the restroom. That's fine, too. Okay. Second thing, with judges, if you get a ruling you don't understand, you should ask the judge to clarify. If it's still not making sense, you can ask for another judge to come and help clarify the situation. And if you get a ruling that you think isn't right or you would like a second opinion on, you can ask that judge and say, hey, I would like to appeal this ruling, or I would like to get a second opinion. As judges, we've talked about that, and we have a set of policies for figuring out what's going to happen. And I would encourage you to do so if you feel like it is warranted. Okay, third thing related to judges. Alt arts are a topic of conversation among a lot of people. If you see a judge with some downtime, I would encourage you, if you have questions about alt arts in your deck, to find a judge and ask them to give you some opinions on it. We will be enforcing the policy that is written in the organized play policy. So the location of card information as well as its legibility are going to be significant criteria for whether or not we allow the card to be used in the main event today. However, I'm not planning on having judges walking around doing, Gestapo-style checks on everyone's alt arts. It's just not worth our time, and hopefully none of you are trying to be obscure with your cards. If you are trying to be obscure with your cards, please don't. We can print proxies for you. The remediation, if someone says, hey, this alt art my opponent is playing is unclear, we're just going to print off a proxy right away. We're not going to worry about it too much more. Next thing on my notes was, this is 11 rounds of Swiss. It is going to be a long day. Make sure to take breaks when you can. There's water around the room. If water is ever empty, find someone on staff. We will get those waters refilled immediately. Tomorrow, we are going to have 3 additional rounds of Swiss. To play in the standard Swiss tomorrow, you need to achieve 21 points today. I think that is, we have some announcements about the stream. There will be maybe 1 or 2, and then we'll open up for questions.
Hey, I'm Juniper. I'm part of the stream team. We're going... So just so you know the protocol for being on stream, there is a table in the back way over there. That is the table that has a camera on it. We're going to come to different tables that we think might look interesting or that we just randomly choose and potentially ask if you can go to that table. It's only people with the lanyard that says they are willing to be on camera. If we do, we'll need to see your decks really quick to look at the alt arts so that we know what alt arts are so that we can pull up the cards on stream. So if you play a weird variation of Amakua, we know what card that is. You'll need to use the playmats and the poker chips that are on that table for the stream. There's tokens and everything over there. And you'll need to, if possible, keep all your cards on the playmat because that's all we have a view of. You'll be on camera, just a single game. If you're not comfortable with any of that, just let us know and we can move on to another team, no problem. We're going to try and do that as soon as pairings happen. A couple of people wearing the blue staff shirts will be out here asking people to be on stream. If you're down to do that, you'll just move to that table in the back. That's all. All right. Anyone else?
All right, I remembered a couple of quick things. So we have 2 TVs up. These are going to be the official timers for the round that you can reference. But we know that there are some columns that can make visibility difficult, or they may be a little small. If you want to have your phone out with a timer, make sure it is visible to both you and your opponent so that they can verify that it is a timer and not, say, a cheat sheet on how to play the matchup. Another reminder, notes are legal. You should, if you feel like they are beneficial to you, take notes on things in the board state. But you cannot take notes from a previous game into the current game or any other kind of outside reminder notes. Yes, you can bring your own deck list, but it cannot have any notes on it beyond the cards in the deck list. Okay, I'm trying to remember if there's anything else, or do people have any questions?
Can you have numbers on your deck list that aren't the number of cards?
No, you cannot have numbers on your deck list that are not anything related. The only thing you can have on your deck list is the name of the card and the quantity of the card and its influence pips.
So can I say what the cost of the card is? I can't have that?
You cannot have the cost of the card on your deck list. No. Yes. Oh, yes, thank you. My favorite bit. Okay. How do we call a judge? So, first, you raise your hand. I want everyone to raise their hand. And then you shout, judge. And then you leave your hand raised until a judge is talking to you. Do not just wait to see someone walking in your direction. There might be someone right next to you who's getting a judge call. Thank you so much, everyone. Yes. Yes, so the way that time extensions are going to work, the judge is going to write the time extension on the back of your match slip. As the judges, we will be monitoring time. The timers on here will count up. We are going to make sure to distribute the labor amongst ourselves so that a judge comes over to call time on your specific table. Yes. Yes, the plan is to call at 20 minutes, 10 minutes, and 5 minutes. And lunch is, so we have opted for a pretty late lunch today to try and split it evenly as we can. So lunch is after, let me double check the schedule. I believe it is after round 5. So it is going to be a late lunch today. Lunch break is supposed to start at 2:30 and end at 3:35. This is so that we can do 5 rounds before and 6 rounds after. Apologies, and we are definitely going to be taking feedback on this for next year. A question over there. There is not a Wi-Fi to check Cobra, unfortunately. We will be doing our best to either print deck lists, assuming the printers are working again. If not, we will station people around the room to help people check Cobra for standings. Okay. Yeah, the staff members will have Wi-Fi, but it was going to cost us almost as much as the venue to get Wi-Fi for everyone here. So, okay. I think with that said, we will pair round 1 in like a minute, I think, and then we will get this show on the road.
Hello and welcome back to the 2024 Netrunner World Championship. I am one of your co-hosts here, Orbital Tangent, aka Josh, pronouns he, him, and I'm joined by 2 co-hosts.
Hey, I'm Cranked, pronounce he, him.
And I am Neuropantser, he, him as well.
Excellent. So we are in lovely San Francisco for this Netrunner World Championship, and before we get started with the round matches, we wanted to go ahead and go over a couple of things with the lovely viewers here. So, gentlemen, I have a couple of questions for y'all. What are y'all excited about for this world? So let's go to Cranked.
I'm excited to be in San Francisco, first of all. San Francisco, one of my favorite cities in America. I honestly relish the chance to get out here anytime that I possibly have an excuse to. But then on the Netrunner side of things, I'm just excited to see what people are brewing up. I think Eric and Juniper touched on this a little bit, but the time between kind of the summer tournament season and then the fall world season is usually pretty dry in terms of folks publishing their secret tech for worlds. This is usually the time of year where you're going to see that secret tech come out, and we're going to see what people have been brewing. We're going to see what those testing groups have been jamming against each other, and we're going to see what the really competitive folks have cooked up for a world season. I'm really excited to see what people's read on the meta is, whether it lines up with my or your expectations, and we go from there. Pants, what do you think?
Honestly, a lot of the same. I am extremely excited about the fact that we also had a ban list update since the last time that major tournaments were played. So not only are people holding on to secret tech, there is actually, despite the fact that the cards have been out for a decent amount of time, there is a very new meta. It was only one ban, but it was a very impactful one that really shook things up. So
yeah, it's huge.
The cards and the decks, I think, are going to be really innovative, and there's going to be a lot going on. And honestly, from having played yesterday at Crown of Servers, there were good games as well, just on all fronts. So many different factions that are viable, so many different strategies within those factions that are viable, and I'm looking forward to just seeing the games because they're going to be fun.
For the folks at home, what was that impactful event?
It was World Tree, the very powerful Shaper program that basically allows you to turn any of your installed cards into any of your other installed cards as long as they match the same type, and you get a little discount on top of it.
Kind of does everything, right?
It kind of does it all. It's just a really impactful card, deck-defining, archetype-defining, and so with that ban, an entire swath of decks that were really leveraging the power of World Tree to kind of make your rig mutable on a turn-by-turn basis. Those decks are gone. So we're going to see what people have cooked up in replacement.
Yeah, so leading into that and talking about that, so it sounds like Shaper was kind of dominating the meta with that World Tree being in there. Now that it's gone, what are IDs or factions are we expecting to see?
I still expect to see a healthy dose of Shaper. I think Shaper got an absolutely huge shot in the arm in terms of their card pool with Rebellion Without Rehearsal. Cards like Trick Shot and Burner that, in addition to just having powerful words on them, they are proactive Shaper cards. They encourage Shaper to be aggressive, to run, to get early accesses, and not just sit back on your laurels and just build up your rig. I expect to see a wide variety of Shaper decks. Lat, I think, has been quite strong. We've seen Sokka just absolutely dominate the NAN-PC scene, as well as, I believe, Continentals as well, with his take on Lat, with a very kind of a lean and mean rig, as I would call it. But there's other options as well within Shaper. We've seen a lot of Kit. I think Kit is a very popular runner because the deck kind of builds itself, right? You use cards like Spark of Inspiration to, for lack of a better phrase, cheat out these big expensive breakers, typically Labisamang or Orca. But you also have some kind of off-the-wall IDs that we're seeing play in Shaper as well. Akiko Nisei has seen more play as of late. Yeah, it's sort of a similar style of rig to what the Lat is doing, but the Akiko ability just lets you see more cards. You get to combo with things like Pretty Mary Da Silva to basically build your own Maker's side just by winning a side game. That's not to say that other runner factions aren't going to be popular as well. I think all three runner factions are totally viable for this tournament.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm going to put in a word for Anarch specifically. I've been around this game long enough. We've all been around this game long enough, and we've seen enough metas where people say,
Absolutely,
it's
2012.
Shaper is the dominant archetype, or Crim's the dominant faction, and people count out Anarch. America always plays Anarch. We are in America. People are going to show up with their Hoshiko. They're going to show up with their Essa. We're going to see a lot of Anarchs today, I think, as well.
Okay, excellent. So, Neuropantser, can you actually expand on what you might think be on the corpse side?
On the Corp side, honestly, I think there's a pretty wide range. Corp is pretty good right now, I think, and there are a lot of different strategies that are viable, many of them centering around not scoring 7 points, but killing the runner. I think we've seen kind of on the NEH side, honestly, multiple yellow IDs. R+ is also in that conversation. They all have strong ways to use tools like End of the Line just to flatline the runner from a surprisingly reasonable number of cards that it seems on the runner side. I also expect to see a fair amount of PE and Ag Infusion where they're threatening kind of both to score out and to deal you lethal damage. But I'm also interested to hear what you think, Ranked.
Let's not forget about PD. PD
That's
is
a good
the
point.
absolute.
That's a good
PD is
point.
the absolute. Just the rock that I think all Corp players can always go back to if they're ever just unsure about what Corp deck to play. It's you can't keep it down. And to make matters more interesting, there's a couple of flavors of PD as well. In addition to the traditional mid-rangey style of PD with things like Border Control and Anoetic Void and defensive upgrades, you also have these kind of new school Shoot the Moon decks that are leveraging really powerful cards like Your Digital Life and just are able to just fill their hand, pay off, get these payoffs by filling their hand, make a lot of money very quickly. They're playing agendas like Midnight 3 Arcology even to further just accelerate themselves. Wayland less of a factor, at least in my estimation, although I think we could still see players show up with a rogue Wayland brew. I think the big 74-card Obelisk may be a consideration for the real sickos. But I really think that all factions are viable as long as maybe with the exception of Nova and Ampere. Sorry to the Nova and Ampere players. If we get one that does well, I'll be very surprised.
So, quick kind of question for you. Going into, like, the percentages of decks that are going to be in the field, not to be too esoteric with the stream and people that may be new, so I'm sorry about this, but there was this concept of Panic Pilana before that rotated. Would you say, either one of you, that PD is
Oh, absolutely,
the
yeah.
Panic
Panic PD
That's
is
what
the thing now.
That's what the P stands for, right?
So do we expect to be that a large percentage of the field?
I think so. I wouldn't be shocked
Yeah.
anyway. A lot of people have been playing PD for a long time, and in an event like this, reps matter. Comfort on your decks matter. And so if you've been grinding PD for a year plus right now, why would you put it away? It's still a perfectly viable deck. It's still doing the same thing it ever was. It's a known factor. But that hasn't stopped the known factor from winning tournaments before. It's not always the rogue list. Sometimes it's just the old standby.
Yeah, and I think it's especially because this is such a long event. We have 11 rounds today, 3 rounds tomorrow, and an entire top 16. You want something that you practiced with, that you don't have to think as much on, and that you don't have to spend as much mental energy, because that is going to be a premium in those rounds where you're fighting for your cut life.
Okay, it looks like we're going to have to wrap it up and toss it to the game here soon. So before
Fantastic.
we go, gentlemen, can you just tell me one last question? One single card that you think might be a world's defining card.
Mindscaping. I'm going all in on Mindscaping this year. I love this card. It's modal. You can do so much with it. You fix your deck. You draw cards. You get money. You can kill people with it. It's the kind of card that high-level card players really tend to like, and I think a lot of people are going to be playing it.
And I think for the exact same reasons, I'm going to go with Trick Shot. It's the closest thing we have to Stim Hack right now, and you all know how much I love Stim Hack.
I'm going to go with End of the Line, and kind of for the same reasons as Mindscaping. I just think we're going to see it a lot more. So with that, I have to say thank you, everybody, for tuning in to the 2024 Netrunner World Championships here. We are going to cut out for a second here so that we can get to the table, and you will be back with some commentators. Thank you very much, and stay tuned.
Back, and we have round one paired. On the left here, we have Kidco, he/him, playing PD, despite the NBN in the upper corner. We'll get that fixed soon. And then Mosquito on the right, he/him, playing 419.
I'd love to see a 419. Well, I love to see a 419 on stream. I don't like to see a 419 across the table from me.
Yeah. Not when you're playing against 419. 419, for those unfamiliar, is it's a Katara cycle identity criminal, and it says the first time the corp installs a card each turn, they must either pay a credit, tax, or expose the card. And then on PD, that's a more contemporary card, NSG card. It is very common. You'll see a lot of it today, I expect, and it is a 6-hand size ID that, when it scores an agenda, can take a card back from Archives to HQ. So what are we expecting to see?
Well, obviously Amakua, the turtle, for 419, because that gets a counter whenever you expose. So
yeah, and we can see it in hand getting installed turn one
really
after a sure gamble.
Early.
That's a strong start for 419. Now the expose on the ID is really relevant, because every time...
Oh, agenda off the top.
Oh my god. Oh. What do we have there? It is a 4-2.
Is that a public? That's the one that came out recently.
I don't think it's a timely public release. It might be an architect deployment
Architect,
test?
that's the one. Architect.
Okay, yeah, that's a black and white proxy, which are legal here at Worlds. Just for anyone watching who's unfamiliar, you can just print decks off with your printer. That looks like a Tranquility home grid in the remote.
Tranquility home grid is going to get some credits and some cards when they install.
Yep.
He's going to take the credits, yeah.
Right, getting either 2 credits or drawing 1 card off of Tranquility the first install each turn.
And it'll pay the 1, yeah, to keep the turtle from getting a counter.
Right.
And,
Tranquility is a nice offset to the 419 tax. It still keeps you, chugging along while you're installing and not just, draining your credits every turn.
I always get scared whenever I see something like this. When I lose an agenda off the top, it immediately makes me want to put something in front of R&D just in case.
Right.
We'll see if he even has anything to put in front of R&D.
Yeah, a lot of the 419 I've been seeing lately have been, around my area at least, have been based around Mining Accident, which is pretty popular in the deck at the moment. Is that a security testing? I see a doof getting drawn. Diversion of funds. There's a Mining Accident. So it is a Mining Accident 419. That card, once you've made a successful run on a central server, seeing an Anoetic Void off the top, and it gets to stay. The mining accident, if you make a successful run, I believe you pay 1 credit for the card.
Two credits.
Two credits. And that's right, it was on stream. And then the corp either needs to lose 5 credits or take a bad pub, which is pretty impactful with these 419 decks. I like the fly pretty low to the ground.
The earlier you can play it, the better, because it's either going to tax them a lot or you're going to have that bad pub for the rest of the game.
Right. Did we see a mining accident go off?
Yeah, we did.
Oh, okay.
We just did. And I didn't see the credits get removed, so it looks like the corp took 1 bad pub.
Yeah, I think it's getting pulled out.
All right.
So that was probably the end of the runner turn. I think the corp is deciding what to do. Kidco. What are you trying to do as PD? There's the bad pub.
With a Tranquility Home Grid, I'm assuming that this is just a standard Skunkworks Anoetic Void,
Yep.
put a bunch of stuff in a remote, make it really miserable to run, then score out an agenda that they can't deal with. But it could be some sort of fast advance situation.
Right.
Obviously.
The classic reg PD is 3 seamless, probably 2 anoetic or 1 anoetic, maybe a border control to help control that server, and Managarms and hoping to gem. Of course, Kidco needs to be worried about losing to central
there's
access.
Seamless.
Yep. So early score, I guess you're hoping for an off-world or that looks like a luminal.
Luminal.
Ooh. Yeah, early luminal is a good sign for Kidco here.
The fact that Kidco still hasn't put an ice in front of R&D has me thinking that he might not have any ice in hand, so I'm curious if he'll just try and draw up with the extra clicks from the luminal.
So we'll be on 4 clicks now, borrowing a click from the runner. That's the special power of luminal is nerfing the runner. 4 clicks now to set up the next follow-up, which is pretty strong here. And definitely giving Kidco some breathing room back that the mining accident and the Amakua early might be making him worried.
Amaku is dangerous because you can just keep running archives over and over again to just keep getting counters on it.
Right.
So.
A lot of these lists will run at least 1 Mavirus, which is going to be very impactful if it comes out. Getting installed is ideal, obviously, but even once it's trashed off the top and gets into archives, it does prevent just running to build up power counters. And then it makes purging, a potential solution to the problem.
Also, he did install an ice and pay the 2 to prevent the 419 ability. As a reminder, the 419 ability exposes a card if you don't pay 1, so you'll get to see what it is, which is it's a pretty big benefit, and it taxes the corp. But more than that, what it lets you do is if you have the turtle out, turtle gets 1 counter whenever you expose a card. And then turtle can break anything with a strength lower than its counters, so if you can keep hitting with that ability, you can make turtle really big.
Yeah, and we haven't... Sorry.
The turtle also gets bigger when you just run on archives over and over again. Oh,
yeah, we can see a doof with a single. This is a little bit of a risky play.
Doof with no... Oh.
Because if there is anything that ends the run here that is greater than 1 strength, then Kidco is going to be very happy to stop this doof. Otherwise, if it's going to hit, it's going to be pretty impactful. We see a Mick. An MIC, that is a good res here. It's still leaving Kidco very poor, but that's definitely going to end the run and end the turn for Mosquito.
Yeah, that's an awful hit. I guess Mosquito was just going for a Brave, hoping it's like a drafter or something, which still hurts but doesn't kill you. But yeah, running on 7 credits is brave.
Yeah, you definitely want to prioritize putting something strong in HQ against a criminal, let alone a 419 criminal, and that is a very good thing to put down. Getting to res it here and still have some credits plus a tranquility.
The other big downside with Mick is that Mick will waste all the rest of the clicks, and that means that Mosquito can't take advantage of
low credits.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That's usually the worry is, I spent all my credits, I can't res anything, now my remote is exposed, but not in this case. So that's the end of Mosquito's turn. Yeah, that was, you see Kidco smiling, pretty happy about that.
It does mean you don't have enough credits to, if what's in the remote is an agenda, Kidco can't just advance it to score it or such.
If there's 2 seamless, it's possible.
We've already seen 1 seam. Well,
PD probably took it back to hand, I assume.
Yeah.
I missed that. But so if there are 2 seamless, and that's really anything, I think probably an off-world office is ideal, right? And then you get the 7 credits. No, we're clicking for a credit here.
PD's ability, for the record, lets you get an asset out of get a card out of archives whenever you score an agenda, which is often used since Seamless is put to advancement counters on a card, lets you advance things really fast. You'll Seamless out a card, score it, and then get the Seamless back so you can do it again for the next one.
It is a very fast ability. Greasing the palm, getting played to install a card, that's a lot of tempo forward. That's 2 credits to install a card off of the Greasing, plus 2 credits off of the Tranquility. So that was a 4 credit and install for a click. That's a lot of value. It's really good.
And just exposing the Anoetic. Okay.
Ooh. Really? So that's interesting. Kidco must really want to have that specific amount of credits. What do we get? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 credits. Yep. What is the 7 credit breakpoint? Probably wanting to res some ice, I guess?
It could be a 4 credit ice and a 3 credit ice. It could be wanting to make sure you have enough credits for the Anoetic after the ice.
I think Kidco feeling pretty secure here. Last click drawing as a corp behind the mic is probably feeling pretty safe, I guess. Usually, clicking last to draw as a corp is a little risky because you might end up with an agenda you're not expecting to defend, but it's probably more safe in HQ right now than in R&D.
Mosquito playing a Hermes makes sense. Hermes bounces an unres card to hand whenever an agenda is scored or stolen, which is just if you're low on tempo and you're worried about what to do, getting a Hermes down is great because it means you can just sit there and let the corp score. And when they do, you'll be able to get some sort of advantage. There's good ways to play around this, and if you're a good corp, you figure that out. But it does give you a little bit of safety when you're on the back foot as the runner. Oh, there's a Seamless.
Here, this does, the Hermes does kind of prevent the classic play of just Seamless advance. Oh, we are seeing a Seamless advance. Going to leave something exposed. Scoring another Architect deployment test, I think? Or is that the other one? I can't remember.
No, that's Architect deployment test. Can you pull up Architect Deployment Test? I never see that card, so I don't remember what it does.
Yes, Architect. Yes, that is Architect. The other one I was thinking of, Remote Enforcement, I think. Yes. When you score this agenda, look at the top 5 cards. They have to stay in order. I was playing this yesterday, actually. And you may install and res one of those cards, ignoring all costs. Now, if it's an agenda, you do need to show that it's an agenda. But otherwise, obviously you can't res an agenda. Looking for a big ice probably here, like a Brawn or something, to offset the Hermes bounce.
Or potentially just looking for a Skunkworks, although it would then get bounced to hand from the Hermes.
Well, it's resed. It's installed and resed.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Right. So like a Brawn, there we go.
There's the Brawn.
That's pretty good.
So that's going to be very hard to deal with. And even though the runner can bounce the ice on that server. So I'm guessing...
What do you bounce here?
I'm guessing Mosquito just bounces R&D and starts trying to hit R&D.
Yeah, and then if you can steal one agenda off the top of R&D, then you use the Hermes to kind of pry the corp open like a clam.
Or additionally, is there not going to be a... Oh.
Are we forgetting the Hermes bounce?
We're forgetting the Hermes trigger.
Yeah, we'll see. It looks like there's a conversation about it happening right now, but we do install. So the triggering ordering, by the way, here, the corp, it is the corp's turn. It looks like we're talking to a judge.
Yep.
They're calling a judge. So the 2 triggers are both on score, right? And the active player is the one who gets to resolve a simultaneous trigger at the same first. And so that, in this case, would be Kidco, who gets to do the Architect's install, and then the Hermes goes in. There we go. We're seeing the Hermes bounce the R&D. That is leaving you feeling pretty exposed as the corp here.
Yep.
But 4 points to 2.
It's a good start as a PD, especially because you still have that miserable server. Like I said, the goal with this sort of PD, set up a server, put an Anoetic, which bounces people out, put a Skunkwork, which costs people 5 credits to get in, and then to run that, you're going to need to spend 5 credits over and over, and to keep having to go in and deal with the Anoetic, which keeps bouncing you out. And you just don't have the money for that, so eventually the corp just keeps scoring.
Right, and if you see a border control on that server, it multiplies the problem even further. Yeah, it can get pretty... Sometimes you just go, okay, there's no way I'm getting in there. I'm just going to tunnel R&D. That looks like a virus.
Oh, that looks like a virus, which is not what you want to see here.
Losing the color is hard. That is a virus.
Oh, that hurts because that clears the turtle, so the turtle can't break anything now. It does get rid of, so you do get to see another one off the top. There's a second
mining accident,
which is going to be 2 bad pub. But if you can't keep getting stuff, there's nothing you can do with the bad pub. You need a way to break. You need to. Oh wow!
Off-world. Okay.
That doesn't increase the turtle though. Still no way to get those turtle counters.
Yeah. So here, I guess probably the ice or the upgrade. What do you think? Probably the ice.
Yeah.
Yeah. Bouncing the ice with Hermes. That is a classic 419 on 1 credit and 2 bad pub is still in a very happy place right now.
The biggest difficulty with the turtle, though, is that the turtle, now that the virus is in archives, every time the runner runs archives, the viruses get purged. So you can't, normally with turtle, you can just keep hitting archives if you desperately need to get enough counters to break through a brawn or something. But with archives having that, if R&D gets iced, you have to find another way to start breaking ice. You have to find another icebreaker or another tool or something.
Right. After the R&D run, you do get the one after the purge. So it's purge, and then you have finished a run, and then you
get
did
one,
extra cards. You get the 1 counter. Kidco probably very desperately needs to ice R&D here, because otherwise it could just be the game if it stays open.
Yeah.
And if it's not the game, then it is a way for Turtle to just run R&D open and get power counters. Yeah. But more Hermes hits is going to be a big problem for Kidco.
Yeah.
So both players tied up right now, but I think maybe back foot. Oh, okay, maybe not quite the back foot. Yeah. Grease in the palm.
Is greasing the palms any card installed?
Yeah, install
okay, so you
a
can use
card
that.
in or protecting a server.
We installed 1 card from HQ, so you can't
Yeah.
just use that to put down an ice.
Yeah. And it's 2 credits, and the tag text here is very rarely relevant, especially in PD. It doesn't happen effectively, but it doesn't really matter.
Putting it there.
Wow, pushing. So that is going to be gain 2, -1, and then -1 for the 419. So it should be net neutral.
Yeah. If he chooses to pay for the 419.
And exposing.
Not paying for it. Just
Okay,
exposing
gaining
it.
one credit here.
That gatekeeper's really hard to deal with though as a turtle because it starts out as 6 strength when you res it.
Yeah, so this says to me that Kidco probably has at least 1 seamless, if not 2, and we're assuming that's an Iqua that went into the server, and it could mean that as early as next turn, with an advance,
that's got to be an Iqua then.
Signaling this is an Iqua project.
So Kidco's just going for the win here.
Yep, pushing, saying, I bet I can score this before you can find 1 more or 2 more in R&D. R&D's going to hold out. I'm going to push for it. It's a risky play, but it is exciting.
Here we go, looking at the top of R&D.
That's an ice.
It's an ice.
That's an ice, which can't be trashed, so Amakua now can get stronger, but there's no way for Amakua to get to 6 to break the gatekeeper here.
Right.
So are you just locked out as Mosquito?
Maybe you can find something.
We know there's a seamless in hand, so it's seamless, advance, score the Iqua. That's the game.
Does 419 have any tools that you can deal with this with?
You have falsified credentials, which will give you money and a counter, but you can get that by running R&D. So we have 3 clicks left, so just clicking for credits.
Oh. Is that it?
Advance. That looks like the game advanced, and we're assuming the last click is a seamless launch to score the
for the
Iqua.
win. Yep, there you go. That's what PD wants to do.
Classic PD.
Yep. Brave move, not doing anything off the top. But yeah, quick first game.
It was a good first game, though. Yeah, you can see the sigh of relief. Coach just, whoo, I just had it. Just had the cards that he needed to have to push across. So that was very exciting first game.
First win of the day.
Yeah. We do have, since we have a fair amount of time in between rounds here.
I was going to ask if you wanted to go over, now that we have the list of what decks are being played and what like runners and such are popular, you want to talk about it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because now that Cobra's out, we can actually look at that.
The breakdown of which IDs are being played, we have access to all that stuff. And I don't think, to anyone who's been playing the game a fair amount, will be terribly surprised what the most popular ID on the runner side is right now.
Yeah, by 36 to the nearest one being 29, it is Lat. The top 3 are actually the only ones above 20. All of them are like Lat is 36, Hoshiko's 29, and Kit's 28, and everything else is below 20.
Wow.
So that's 16 more Lats than 17 more Lats than the previous one. Yeah.
That is, it's surprising. It's not surprising, but I think that right now the meta in general is really, really diverse. I've heard people say this about coming into this, that can a meta be too diverse? It's hard to know exactly what you're going to face when you come into a big tournament like this. And I think that you definitely need to plan around Lat. Sokka's been popularizing Lat by going across the U.S., winning all the nationals with that deck repeatedly without one card changes. No surprises along the way, any gotchas. It's just value, control, tools, and skill. Yeah.
That's the biggest thing, having played against the lad a couple of times in Crown of Servers yesterday. It's just really, really hard to do anything about it because it just works. You have to actively be protecting yourself from it. And the other thing about it that I think makes it so popular, in fact, the thing about all three of the top runners, Lat, Hoshiko, and Kit, all of them are some level of easy.
Yeah.
There's no weird trick to it. There's no combo you're trying to figure out. There's a lot of complexity. There's a lot of figuring out how to make the most money off of it or how to do things best, but they are all very regular runners. You install icebreakers, you break ice, you do well.
Generic value is there something to be said for that?
There's a ton of value.
Learning to play lat and how to organize your turn takes a lot of planning to figure out maximizing the lat draws, because for those not familiar, lat is an ID that says at the end of your turn, if you have the same number of cards in hand as the corp, you get to draw one card. And that is after your discard step, so it lets you draw up to 6 cards if the corp is on 5 cards. So that has some inherent kill protection, because a lot of times corps are trying to kill you if you have 5 or fewer cards in hand. So if you have 6, you automatically can survive something like a double punitive off of stealing a 5/3. So that's made it very popular, because there are a lot of kill combos out there right now, or at least there would be more probably if lat wasn't so prevalent. But they still exist, and you can still get through a lat, but it's quite hard. But as a person, I played lat in Crown of Servers yesterday, and that is knowing when to say, I don't need the lat draw right now, I can let this go, and things like that. That's a bit of a skill thing. And also Hoshiko, figuring out how to maximize flipping and not flipping. Yeah. It takes some practice.
It takes some practice. There's definitely, I think it's a deck with a low skill floor, but a high skill ceiling, which is what you want. It is very easy to start playing it. It's very easy to start seeing the combos. It's very easy to see, I can play Aesops, I can play Muse into Coalescence, and then I can get all the money off of that.
Spec working.
Spec working. It's easy to see all the tools. Getting good at them is very difficult, but it's easy to see the tools, and then it's easy to pick up the deck, try out the tools, throw them at the table, and find out that they work great.
Yeah.
And also, Deep Dive is still an amazing card.
Yep.
It's one of the best cards in the format, period, when it's playable. And Lat makes it extremely playable, because you can score out 1 or 2 points easily, and then you just spend the rest of the game prepping for your Deep Dive. And as soon as you hit it, you're going to win the game.
Yeah, Shaper obviously got a huge boost this set. So seeing Lat and Kit as top, 3 of the top, 2 of the top 3 most popular IDs makes a lot of sense in cards like Trickshot, which just give you generic lots of money value. The text never ends on that card. It goes on for miles. It's really strong.
Trickshot is one of the best cards. I feel about Trickshot the same way I felt about Stim Hack in old Netrunner, which is that I think this card is overtuned and way too powerful, but I love it and hope it never goes away.
Yeah, it is a lot of fun to be able to play, and I think there are definitely things that you can do around it. You see a lot of corps that are playing against the Shaper just start to ice R&D pretty quickly, which is normal play for against the Shaper, but it does a lot to slow them down with that. If you have to, I was in a few games yesterday where I had plenty of trick shots, but I had to go through a couple of pieces of ice before I could then, you break that first ice jack out just to get a couple credits, and it ends up being a 1 or 2 credit card if you can't get into R&D. If you can, getting the extra 2 credits and 2 axes is very impactful. So protecting R&D in that case it feels pretty important.
So we've got Lat at the top. We've got Hoshiko next. Hoshiko's Reg Hoshiko. There's so many good Hoshiko decks. Plenty of things you can do there.
A lot of Crew
Amakua. Yep.
Crew Amakua and Devil Charm.
Yep.
Out of that is a very popular
Crew and
archetype.
Devil Charm with Leech in general lets you destroy ice. Any deck that can destroy ice is going to be really powerful.
Right.
Then we have Sable, which I've seen a lot of Sable. I think that's the most popular. I don't really know what the Sable's doing. Is it Deep Dive or is it just good Sable stuff?
I think a combination.
I was going to ask if we could do that.
Sable.
Sweet.
I played against 3 Sables yesterday in a row, and 2 of them were trying to use Chichinho to knife me to death, and they came very close. Some really fun includes a double running hot Sable trying to knife me, got very close with surprise running hots. That was a lot of fun.
I'm very excited if we see any Chichinhos today.
I
it's
expect
a very fun card.
They're definitely out there, right? People love trying to do that as a win con. And then the others are either a value, just denial, crim control, with Amakua and all the resources and twinnings and things like that, or the other one that I've seen is deep dives.
We've got. Well, let me go through a few more on these. Next up, you have 19 samples, 19 aces.
Cool.
Ace is a staple. It's just always a pretty good deck.
Yeah.
I don't think there were too many changes to it. 13 freedoms.
13 freedoms. I think you can basically thank Pailu for that.
Yes,
Pailu,
that one is.
Pailu came out with a really cool came second place in East Coast Nationals, and then did very well in Cascadia, I believe, as well. Like the following weekend, basically across the country. And the Freedom deck is, it's a Tag Me Freedom deck. It is playing. What is the breaker?
God of War.
God of War. Thank you. Which
It's no consumes, which a lot.
One consumes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, one consume, which is a big influence spend. Lets you, every time you trash a card, you get a virus counter, and then you can click it to get $2 for a virus counter, kind of like a fermenter that you have to manually charge, but it is a lot of money when you need it, usually when you're trying to use counter surveillance to take advantage of all the tags you've taken from the God of War to try and dig for like 10 cards at the end of the game to close it out.
Yeah. And then 11 419s, 7 Mercuries, and from then on, there's like 6 of a bunch of random stuff. I am glad we're seeing Akiko because of the girls deck a while back.
Yep.
Akiko has been unplayable for so long. The fact that it's finally actually playable is just so delightful.
Yeah.
I didn't think there would ever come a day. I'm so happy.
Have you jammed the girls deck a lot?
I have jammed the girls deck, and I was immediately just like, oh, this is so much fun.
Yeah.
This is great.
Nick, my buddy Nick, is really a big fan of that deck, so I've played against it a fair amount. Yeah.
So fun. I think it's been mostly supplanted by Lat because the Lat deck is just a bit more boring.
It's consistent. Yeah.
But Akiko, I've always for a long time, Akiko was my example of a card that FFG printed that was unplayable, and the fact that now it is great.
Yes.
On the corp side, 28 PDs.
Yeah.
I
played it
just saw one,
yesterday. So as boring as PD is, I find that the games that you play when you're playing that ID almost always just are exciting, down to the wire, have these big moments, even though it's like, can I get in? Because everybody knows what the plan is, generally speaking. So it ends up being a really good, like, the closest thing to a chess match that I tend to play in Netrunner.
Yeah. 22 R pluses.
The second most popular ID is R+. That is very impressive.
I'm wondering if that has to do with the popularity of Freedom. If Freedom becoming such a big deck, because I know it's a tag me list because of the God of War.
Lat has a hard time dealing with tags.
That's true.
Yeah. There's very little tech. Like you can put a Hannah in to a Lat deck, but dealing with tags, if you hit a Behold or something, turn one, like you don't have a lot of liquid credits. You have quick credits to run with Lat, but you don't have a lot to just like click to clear tags.
Yeah, the Lat deck always wants to be doing something. It always wants to be spending time fiddling with its tools and such. Just wasting time just clearing tags is really miserable for it. 22 Ag Infusions. Do you know what the Ag Infusion deck is doing?
So I think that's, again, thanks to Saka. Saka has been playing Ag Infusion and Lat, generally speaking, and winning everything, and it's been a Glacier Ag Infusion.
Okay.
I think that's probably what that is. It is... it's hard to deal with. It's lots of slow. Step 1, ice up your sensors like crazy. Step 2, build a strong remote, and then put a Lacosta grid in that remote and just let stuff cook and score agendas by having them slow advance. Just they're dripping, and then you maybe push them over the edge when you need to, and then booping people using the ID into a nasty piece of ice over and over again.
Ag Infusion's it's a strange identity. I've never been able to make it work, mostly because I'm not very good at Netrunner. I joke, but it is an identity that I see, and I'm like, I get how this works, and I feel like if I was smarter, I'd be able to make all of the tools work and see all the lines.
I hear you.
But like, I'll stick to playing mediocre, funny decks that are.
I find this very hard to pilot.
Yeah, it is extremely hard to pilot.
Knowing when to trash your ice and in what order to install your ice, you need to be thinking several turns ahead.
Yeah.
So it's definitely something that will reward a lot of practice and a high skill set.
22 ASA groups. I don't know what that is.
Jai, who the Intercons champion, I believe, has popularized this, as well as a couple other players.
Is it doing anything specific, or is it just?
It is definitely running Hollow Man. That is kind of like, you're going to see that. You're probably going to see the powers that be in that deck as a 1 of, or maybe a 2. So the powers that be is a new card as of this last set that lets you, when you score an agenda, you can install a card, I believe, ignoring all costs. I'm not sure, but basically lets you score an agenda using Hollow Man probably, and then immediately jam something onto, one of your strong remotes, and you might see something like Cohort Guidance Program, out of Kentucky for that deck, which lets you trash a card from hand
the cohort guidance program. Yep.
to either give you some gas, draw
So very
a card.
very much an asset spam sort of
Yeah,
thing.
it's sort of shell gamey,
Yeah.
right? You're putting out lots of things. You're using the ASA trigger. You can ASA trigger to like shore up a server that's really rough by install ice, ASA install ice. Suddenly there's 2 more on that server. It's very flexible.
It's what AS has been doing for a very long time, which is just what if I make more servers that are harder to deal with and just put a bunch of really good assets down on the table.
Also, if you put your Hollow Man somewhere else, right? It's a shell game. Find the Hollow Man and find the. You have to find 2 things, and if you don't, then you can move the Hollow Man over to wherever the agenda needs to be scored, and there you go.
Hollow Man's just incredible. I expect to see a lot of that today. It's very powerful.
It allows a lot of creative lines of play, so I like it a lot.
Speaking of Dex Pylu made everyone start playing, we have PE.
P's scary. P's such a scary deck to see, especially in this setting where you do not know what it is doing.
I think a lot of it's going to be from QTM stuff because there's a bunch of decks. I believe at this point, and I think this is I'm part of QTM querying the message. That's my testing group. I don't do as much testing because I'm very bad at Netrunner. I mostly sit there and watch other people make really good decks and go, hey, what if we added this bad card to
loud,
it?
loud, right?
Yeah. It's loud, louder, louderer. People just keep adding to the name whenever the deck gets iterated on.
Do you know what that's doing?
Oh gosh. A bunch of stuff. Well, the original version way back in the day was called Quiet, and it was Keeling and Prana Condenser and things. But now it's like a really complicated Prana Condenser asset machine.
Okay.
It's just
I've never played against it.
It is incredibly hard to pilot, and it is incredibly powerful because you expect just like Grinder or Misery or something, but instead every decision becomes important and everything could kill you at any minute, and you have to constantly be thinking about every possible cost. Yeah. It is very good, but it is really hard to pilot.
Right.
And then from there we have those are all above 20. Everything else is below. The next highest is Ob at 12. And from there on it goes down. I am happy to see 9 Atias.
9 Atea is very cool. 12 Ob, I assume, is probably some sort of surprise kill Ob, like combo kill Ob.
I think so?
Yeah, there's a couple. There's one, Ryan Bantwin's list, which is a pure combo building machine where you are trying to, all you're trying to do is have 3 things res on the board at the end of the turn. You have like a biotic, you have a 3-cost asset that you can trash using the Ob ability, and there's a combo where you can basically get a wage workers on the table. You can do a mutually assured destruction and give tags, and then you can double end of the line and push them over into kill. And then other than that, there's a list from Jantuno out of Ob that is a surprise, like more flexible combo Ob that is just out of nowhere. You get Angelique coming in to do meat damage and Azef protocols and Reaper functions and all sorts of things.
That's one of the values you can have with an Ob deck like that, because you can grab stuff so easily. You can really quickly have a lot of possible ways to kill the runner. If they ever stupidly go down to 1 card, you can immediately find a way to take advantage of that.
Yeah,
which makes it
don't want to
dangerous.
be left in that situation. The Asmari, just above that, or just below that, is likely mostly Asmari kill combo decks that we've seen out of the UK very prevalently. And that is a re-education combo deck, usually either with a Jupstad grid or a Neurospike. And those are the 2 different flavors or combination thereof that let you score 1 agenda, probably on turn 4 to 6, maybe 7, and then just kill the runner.
It could be a lot of things, though, because Asmari is just one of those identities that it's just, do you have an interesting combo? It works in Asmari.
I've been trying to popularize Cephalopod Wizards Kingmaking Asmari, which I know at least one deck out there is, because someone I know is playing it, and it is a lot of fun where you're trying to score a Kingmaking, you draw cards, you use Sudden Commandments and a Subliminal Message to score cards very quickly, and then you get to draw off of the Kingmakings to put the 3/1 superconducting hub to increase your hand size and play YDLs. It's really fun.
Then you got a bunch of different identities below that. Just a few of everything. 7 outfits, 9 built to last, 7 sports medals. Lots of variation on the lower realms, just a ton of stuff. There's also a few, there's One, at the very bottom
Yeah,
of
what
the
are the
list,
weird
we get
ones?
the fun stuff.
Saraswati mnemonics. I think I know who that is. Maybe I played against a Saraswati yesterday. That's a lot of fun.
Interestingly, there's 9 from the newest set. If we look at just the identities from the newest set, 9 Atiyas, 1 Epiphany, and 1 Nuvum, and no Thunderbolt.
Yeah,
So
no
Atiya's
Thunderbolt
definitely
at
the most
all.
popular.
Oh,
On the
no.
runner side, you get a 5 Sebastians. You get how many Mercuries? 7 Mercuries,
That's-
and
okay.
then how many Arisanas? 6 Arisanas. So all of them solid numbers,
Yeah.
but yeah, no
Yeah.
Thunderbolts in this.
No Thunder. We have an Ampere. We have 3 Ampere. What about?
Oh,
we have a
exciting.
Nova.
And 1 Nova.
1 Nova.
Interesting that there's more.
Yeah,
That's
I think Ampere
fascinating
is
that there's-
definitely more preferred if
Yeah.
you're going to play one of the neutrals.
I just can't imagine going to Worlds and being like, I'm going to bring Ampere, but also
What is it doing?
I'm going to do whatever I want. That is the advantage. But,
no idea.
Ampere, for the record, is the Highlander style deck. You can include any cards that you want. Don't have to worry about influence. However, you can only include one of them.
Right.
This means your deck is extremely inconsistent and probably will lose because it's inconsistent. But it does mean that you can do anything and that you never know what it's going to have.
I think the most popular Amperes that I've seen have been trap decks, where there's just like cerebral overriders and Urtica ciphers and like things that
Nightmare
you
Archives
yeah,
and just- you-
beholds, whatever, yeah, anything that you don't want to touch.
Yep.
And they get put out, and you go, I don't know. It could be literally like, I don't know what I'm playing against, so how do I play against it?
And there was one yesterday at Crown of Surfers. I played Mercury and Nuvum, so I'm glad there was one other person playing Nuvum. It's probably not as interesting as my deck,
A
but
single
it's
Nuvum.
fun. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm proud of my deck. I'm going to put it on Netrunner DB.
Cool. Yeah, I want to see more Nuvum lists. It's tough because a lot of players really favor consistency, and that deck makes you have more cards in it, which
Yeah.
is a definite downside.
No, it's
and you're-
definitely no 50 card deck has. Well, Max has, but I don't think any 50 card
Yeah.
Corp deck has ever been good.
It doesn't
Has
have
that been?
draw built into it, which is the thing, right?
Yeah.
It does it's a smaller deck kind of because you're trashing stuff, but then you have to deal with that risk of the trash.
But yeah, it's a pretty good spread. I mean, on the Corp side, there's a the lowest Wayland is Ob at 12, but the top 3 are all different factions with PD, NBN, Reality Plus, and Ag Infusion. And then on the runner side, the lowest there's a Criminal at 19.
Yeah. Okay, so we have 5 minutes left in the round, I believe. I think we maybe are going to take a quick break, and then we'll be back for the next round. I don't know if it's us or we'll see if on the commentary. I'm not watching the schedule, but anyway, we hope you've enjoyed the coverage so far. We're excited to be here with you and look forward to 10 more rounds of single-sided Swiss today.
goodness,
It's going to be a long day. It's going to we're going to have to dig deep near the end, but I guess we'll be back soon.
See?
And yeah, that's it. Bye-bye.
Yeah. Goodbye.